In a small, quiet town surrounded by dense forests, there lived two unlikely friends, Vera and Theo. Everyone knew Vera for her tall stature, long dark hair, and haunting gaze, while Theo was recognized by his short, scruffy appearance and wide, nervous eyes. One day, as the sun dipped below the horizon, they ventured into the woods and stumbled upon an ancient, crumbling structure. The town was engulfed in whispers of cursed secrets. Vera, cold and calculating, silently observed as Theo, impulsive and brave, searched for answers in the darkness. Days turned into weeks, and the truth began to unravel. The townsfolk spoke of shadows and entities hidden in the depths of the forest. Then, on a cold, misty evening, Vera and Theo uncovered a hidden chamber. As they ventured deeper, their lights flickered upon horrifying symbols and ancient texts. Theo's eyes, once filled with curiosity, now held a darkness that seemed to swallow the light. The chamber, they realized, was a gateway to unspeakable horrors. In a small, forgotten town, nestled in the shadows of looming mountains, there stood an abandoned asylum, its crumbling walls holding secrets that whispered in the wind. Everyone knew of its existence, but few dared to speak of it. One stormy night, two unlikely companions, Vera and Theo, found themselves drawn to its rusted gates. As lightning illuminated the decrepit building, they exchanged a glance, their curiosity overpowering their fear. Little did they know, their lives were about to change forever. Vera, tall and imposing with her long, dark hair and haunting gaze, stood motionless at the entrance. Her cold, calculating eyes scanned the overgrown courtyard, silently observing every detail. She was the watcher, always vigilant, always ready to face the horrors that lurked in the shadows. Beside her, Theo fidgeted nervously, his short, scruffy frame a stark contrast to Vera's statuesque presence. His wide eyes darted from one dark corner to another, his impulsive nature barely contained. He was the seeker, driven by an insatiable need to uncover the truth, no matter how terrifying it might be. As they stepped into the asylum's main hall, the air grew thick with an oppressive silence. Vera's footsteps echoed softly, while Theo's nervous energy seemed to vibrate through the decaying walls. The asylum's history hung heavy in the air, a palpable weight on their shoulders. Vera's eyes narrowed as she noticed strange symbols etched into the peeling wallpaper, their meaning as obscure as the asylum's past. Theo, unable to contain his curiosity, rushed ahead, his flashlight beam dancing erratically across the walls. "Look at this, Vera!" he called out, his voice a mix of excitement and fear. Vera approached slowly, her gaze fixed on the spot Theo's light illuminated. There, hidden behind years of grime and neglect, was a mural depicting scenes of unimaginable horror. Patients with twisted faces and elongated limbs writhed in agony, while dark, formless entities loomed over them. As they delved deeper into the asylum's bowels, the air grew colder, and an unsettling feeling crept up their spines. Vera's normally stoic expression faltered for a moment as she felt an unseen presence brush against her. Theo, oblivious to the subtle shift in atmosphere, continued to push forward, his determination to uncover the asylum's secrets driving him onward. They found themselves in what appeared to be an old treatment room. Rusted equipment lay scattered about, their purpose long forgotten. Theo's eyes widened as he spotted an old journal tucked away in a corner. With trembling hands, he opened it, revealing pages filled with frantic scribbles and disturbing diagrams. "Vera," he whispered, his voice barely audible, "I think we've found something big." Vera leaned in, her eyes scanning the pages with growing concern. The journal spoke of experiments, of tapping into realms beyond human comprehension. It detailed rituals performed on patients, attempts to bridge the gap between our world and something else. As they read, the temperature in the room plummeted, and the shadows seemed to writhe with a life of their own. Suddenly, a piercing scream echoed through the halls, causing both Vera and Theo to jump. Theo's flashlight flickered and died, plunging them into darkness. In the pitch black, Vera felt a presence surround them, ancient and malevolent. Her normally calm demeanor cracked as she reached out, grabbing Theo's arm. "We need to leave, now!" she hissed. But as they turned to flee, they found their path blocked. In the doorway stood a figure, its form shifting and twisting in ways that defied reality. Its eyes, if they could be called that, glowed with an otherworldly light. Theo let out a strangled gasp, his bravery faltering in the face of this impossible entity. Vera, however, stood her ground. Her eyes, once cold, now burned with a fierce determination. She stepped forward, placing herself between Theo and the creature. "We don't belong here," she said, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her veins. "This is not our world to disturb." The entity tilted its head, a gesture both curious and menacing. When it spoke, its voice was like the rustling of dead leaves, carrying the weight of countless forgotten souls. "You sought knowledge," it rasped. "Now you must pay the price." In that moment, Vera made a decision that would haunt her for years to come. She pushed Theo towards the exit, shouting at him to run. As he hesitated, torn between his fear and his loyalty, Vera's eyes met his. "Go," she commanded. "Someone needs to tell our story." Theo, with tears streaming down his face, turned and ran. The sound of his footsteps faded, leaving Vera alone with the entity. She stood tall, her resolve unwavering as the shadows closed in around her. The last thing Theo heard as he burst out of the asylum was Vera's voice, not in fear, but in defiance. Days turned into weeks, and the town buzzed with whispers of the asylum. Search parties combed the area, but Vera was nowhere to be found. Theo, haunted by guilt and unanswered questions, became a shell of his former self. He spent his days poring over the journal they had discovered, trying to make sense of the horrors they had unleashed. Then, on a moonless night, as Theo sat in his dimly lit room surrounded by notes and theories, he heard a familiar sound. It was Vera's voice calling to him from the shadows. His heart raced as he turned, expecting to see his lost friend. But what he saw made his blood run cold. There, in the corner of his room, stood Vera, but she was changed. Her once dark hair now writhed like living shadows, and her eyes glowed with the same otherworldly light as the entity they had encountered. Her smile, once warm and reassuring, was now twisted into something inhuman. "Hello, Theo," she said, her voice a mixture of Vera's familiar tones and something ancient and terrible. "I've come to show you what I've learned." As Vera stepped forward, the shadows in the room seemed to bend towards her, reality itself warping in her presence. Theo, his eyes wide with terror, realized that in their quest for knowledge, they had opened a door that could never be closed. And now, that darkness had come to claim him too. In that small, forgotten town, the asylum still stands, its secrets now intertwined with the fate of Vera and Theo. The locals speak in hushed tones of strange lights seen in its windows, of whispers carried on the wind. They say that on quiet nights, you can hear the sound of footsteps in empty corridors, and sometimes, just sometimes, the echoes of a familiar laugh that sends chills down your spine. For in seeking to uncover the asylum's cursed secrets, Vera and Theo had become part of its legacy, forever bound to the horrors that lurk in the shadows between worlds. Their story serves as a chilling reminder that some mysteries are better left unsolved, some doors better left unopened. For in the depths of human curiosity lies the potential for terrors beyond imagination, waiting patiently for those brave or foolish enough to seek them out.